I don't know if I'm an expert, but I like efficiency. So I'll just a little backstory. I had a job one time and I walked into the office. It was my first one-on-one with my manager. And I walk in, I'm like, what am I going to tell this lady? This is kind of like my really second or third time interacting with her. And I walk in and I say, you know what? I'm extremely lazy. So I'm going to find the most efficient way to get this job done. And so I think you got to think about those efficiencies.
Welcome to the show, Carla. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
This is exciting. You and I have been going back and forth about agency and business and all the things that you're doing. Super excited to have you here. I got to ask you, I have no idea. You've worked with countless entrepreneurs. What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make when they're trying to scale their business?
So I find systematizing things. A lot of times when you're an entrepreneur, you're wearing a lot of hats and everything's in your head. And so it's really important to, even in the beginning, start thinking about documenting and firing yourself out. How do you
Wow,
replicate what you're doing? Get it out of your head so that you can systematize it and hire the right people to scale.
that's fantastic. That's 700 books that I've read in like one sentence.
Yeah. I've learned the hard
How did you
way.
learn this? You must have learned this the hard way.
Oh, 100%. So my first entrepreneurial venture was in medical billing, and there's a lot of nuances to it. And so it was really hard for me to scale because I had all the codes, all the little nuances in my head. And so I had to start just, and it's hard because you're busy and you're like, I don't
Yeah.
have time to do that video. I don't have time to do this, but I'm telling you, it is worth it. So I just built mine over time of if somebody had a question, I'd record the video, put it in the library, organize it somehow and be like, all right, all those questions are answered. Go to the library if you can answer it. And if
Wow.
something new popped up, right, I was still cataloging it in my head. If I've answered this question before, then I could send the new people to that catalog or to that training. And this was like
Got
2010. Now there's all
tools.
manuals and tools and stuff
Right.
that make it way easier than what I was even doing back then.
Got it. And so for that entrepreneur who's getting started or they're struggling to get to the 100K mark or $1 million mark or whatever it is, take that thing that you shared. Like, how do you systemize? Can you break that down for us? What are the basics? You're an expert, Carla. So you're in another
Yeah.
level. Not everybody's on the same page.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I like efficiency. So I'll just a little backstory. I had a job one time and I walked into the office. It was my first one-on-one with my manager. And I walk in, I'm like, what am I going to tell this lady? Right. It's kind of like my really second or third time interacting with her. And I walk in and I say, you know what? I'm extremely lazy. So I'm going to find the most efficient way to get this job done. And so I think you got to think about those efficiencies. And I was never a project manager. I'm not a project manager. I
Mhm.
learned about it over time, but I really try to stay organized. One of my favorite books is called Getting Things Done by, I think it's
GTD.
David Allen. Yeah,
Yeah.
Getting Things Done. That has revolutionized my life because I don't need to be worried about laundry when I'm at a client meeting. The
Yep.
context doesn't match up. And so when you use the was it Getting
D.
Things Done, the
Yeah.
T, I always mix them up because in CrossFit there's the GHD, so it's a wholly different thing. But anyways, so in that you can get organized, and it's really about organization and focusing your time where it should be in that context. Tools like ClickUp.com, Monday.com, or like project management tools, those can be useful to just kind of organize, especially if like in our space where you're
Mhm.
managing clients and agencies. Clients are projects.
Yep.
You're onboarding them, you're doing the service, you're launching. And so if you can track that and have visibility among your team, then you can scale it and get organized. I actually worked with a guy who cuts down trees. That's like his business.
Wow.
And he does a really good job. He's very educated. He knows more things about trees than you even thought somebody could know about. And he actually contacted me to help him. I'm not a getting things done coach. I know they have certified coaches, but he called
Yeah.
me to help him, right? How do I become more efficient and scale my business by getting organized? So I think, and I don't mean organized, oh, have your desk nice and neat, but have your productivity organized in a way that you
Yeah.
can focus on that thing in that context.
I hear you. Let me ask you this, and I also know a lot about you because we work together on different levels. I know you are like a sales trainer, sales coach, sales mentor to so many people. How did you know all the things that you talk about, right? Like, how did you learn that? How did you learn how to sell? Because I got to tell you, I was surprised to hear all the things that you would talk about.
Yeah, so a lot of it I just learned along the way. I did invest in myself. I think some people are more naturally inclined to be good at sales, but no one is born good at sales, if that makes sense. And
Yes.
so from an early age, I just started reading books about start with personal development, right? And what you learn in personal development is about who do you hang out with? Who are your 5 best friends? Who are your centers of
Yep.
influence? My centers of influence weren't the people that were going to help me get to that next level. So I have to be able to make friends, which is building
Yep.
rapport, sales, right? Everything is sales. And so in that regard, I just learned to sell myself in that way. And then I
Mhm.
started learning about books. Some of my favorite sales books are by Oren Klaff. He has the first one he wrote is called Pitch Anything. And then the
Yep.
second one he wrote is called, what does he call it? It's called I'm blanking the name now, but Oren Klaff, I loved his books because they're straight to the point. Neurolinguistic programming. Ended up taking 15 months, flying to Dallas once a month for 15 months straight to learn neurolinguistic
Wow.
programming, just because sales is just good communication, and it's helping people understand what their pain points are. Sometimes they understand what they are, sometimes they don't, and then guiding them to there. So you're like the sage. Let your customer be the hero. You're Yoda. Let them be Luke Skywalker. Let them be the hero, and you become the sage guiding them to that product or result or whatever it is that they really seek. And I think sales too, the better you get at it, the more ethical you have to be, because you can
Yep.
cross that line of, I've had this many times where I could have easily sold somebody on something that they didn't need and take them for thousands of
Mhm.
dollars. But at the end of the day,
Yep.
right, reputation is more important, and you want your clients to be successful, even if it's only a smaller service that you can get done faster or cheaper. Then I will always go that route and sell them on that. I'll be like, hey, I know you want this, and I know you think you want this, but I'm telling you, you're going to be a lot happier with this other thing that is cheaper and easier to implement. So it's really just having that high ethic too when it comes to sales.
I love that. That's something that the sales, as an industry, people think there's low ethics, right? I want to be the one that makes sure that this is the right product and is the right fit. It's not about me. It's not about my commission. I'm glad that you talked about that. Tell me more about like how your passion for marketing and sales and entrepreneurship moved you into this marketing thing. Like you're doing a whole lot of marketing things, and I don't want to go into it. You tell us, how'd you do that? How'd you know that's where you're called to serve and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So, sorry, I have a little bit of allergies today. I've always been entrepreneurial, right? Growing up, I just knew like that was good. I didn't know what it was going to be, but that was going to be my path. And like
Yep.
I mentioned earlier, some people are more inclined to be better at selling. And that's what
Hmm.
I was really always good at. It's like I could sell like almost anything. I grew up selling in a retail shop, whatever. And the businesses I've had that failed or didn't do as well as I wanted, I started thinking about that. What is the thing that I need to get
Wow.
good at to take my business to that next level, getting past that $100,000 mark, getting past that quarter million mark? What do I need? And I
Hmm.
realized I was really weak in marketing. And so I
Mm.
started learning about what I understood the concept of marketing, but like the tactics of it. What is that? So I started
Okay.
diving into that, got brought into the ClickFunnels world and sales funnels and all that, and really realizing that marketing is very similar to sales. They're not the same, but they do pair together. And if you're missing one, your business isn't going to do too well, and vice versa. I know people who are fantastic at marketing, but they can't close the deal.
Yep.
And so you want to have that. And if
Yep.
you're not able to do that as a small business owner and you're wearing all those hats, you might want to find a partner to do that, whether it's someone like you. That's why I contacted you. I was like, okay, you guys are amazing. You and I chatted, and I thought, man, this is the people that I want to be around and associate with, and that can help me take my business to the next level of the things I'm either weak in or don't have the time for.
Oh, it's awesome. And tell me more about like when you're trying to help these business owners and you realize that they have this dire need of marketing. What kind of mistakes are they making that you keep finding yourself, man, there we go again, like the same thing. And this is because a lot of businesses can't get to the $1 million mark. You know that. Most of them fail. The ones that don't fail, they only make it to so big. They're not 10 and 20. If everybody made 10 and $20 million, it would be very easy and it's hard. So, what are those mistakes that our audience today that's watching, that small business owner or somebody even wanting to go into this can avoid to get success faster?
I think a lot of times it is being willing to make mistakes and just do it. I know that sounds super cliche, but I'll give you an example. I'm working with a lady. I built her a sales funnel, and I built it in about a week, and I modeled. So in the ClickFunnels world and in the funnel building world, you always want to model what is working and what's performing really well. So we picked out something very similar to her business and her niche, built out the funnel almost exactly like this other one, obviously different colors, different images, copy, but the same layout essentially. And we did that just in a week, and I thought it was amazing. And I was like, this is the strategy. It's 2 months, we're 2 months in now, and she keeps wanting revisions and wanting revisions to where it's almost gone to the point where I feel like she's procrastinating the launch, right?
Wow.
By making these changes. And not just, oh, I want to change a headline. I want to change the whole layout. I want to change everything. And at first I was frustrated because I'm like, man, this lady is driving me nuts. But I realized is I think there's a little bit of fear, right, of actually launching and getting the results that she's probably dreaming about, but is maybe too afraid, or imposter syndrome or whatever's going on, that she's delaying that launch. So I think you just have to get it out there, and you're going to learn there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. So if you launch or do something and it doesn't get the results, then go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, this part worked, this didn't work. Let's make this adjustment here and then try it again. Don't give up too early, because I've heard this quote, it's not my quote, where people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 5.
Yeah, I love that. I agree. People do overestimate how much they can get in a month. I've been told, like, I want to make $1 million in 3 months. And I'm like, okay, what are we starting with?
Yeah, and you got to do the math. If you want to make $1 million by the end of the year, okay, what is that? Was 83,333 cents per month. Okay, if your product has an X dollar amount, then how many new clients do you need to keep and retain every month to get there? It's just a math equation at the end of the day, and then implementing that and building in like project management, your contingencies, your expenses. If I want to make this much money, how do I get there? And if you
Right.
use funnels and the marketing, right? If you put $1 into marketing and make 2 out, then you're almost limitless, right? It's just a matter of how fast you can go at that point.
I want to ask you one question, because we just spoke before we started about how you've been traveling so much. How do you manage all that? Because I don't know how many businesses that you're involved in, but there's so many things that is looking for your time, Carla. And how do you manage investing in yourself, being in programs, selling, looking after the clients that you mentioned? How do you do it all? And CrossFit.
CrossFit is definitely their stress reliever. I'll say that, to get that energy out. I try to stay organized. So we talked about the getting things done.
GTD,
I've
yes.
I've built that into. I have it on my phone, and I have I use ClickUp for my project management kind of organization tool, and I use that to track my next actions, my do it now, do it later, and my priorities. Now I'm not perfect; things do slip through the cracks, but that's how I'm able to try to stay as organized as possible in my
Yep.
personal life and in my professional life. And also blocking out time of, okay, I always take calls from 12 to 1 and 4 to 5, right? Those are like dedicated call times blocked on my calendar. So that way I just know I'm going to be on the phone at those times. And then the rest
Right.
of the time I'm working at my getting things done. And getting things done is different than prioritizing. So you prioritize a little bit in getting things done, but it's more about how do I be most efficient in the time that I have and in the
Yep.
context or situation I'm in right now. And so if I'm, example, at the airport, I could be reading emails. I could be
Mm-hmm.
responding to emails. I may not be making phone calls because it's loud or whatever. So
Right.
you can put your activity into these boxes or situations where you can be more productive.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. Is that an app? I should download it. Getting things done.
I don't think there are apps out there designed around it. The thing with getting things done, and what I read why there isn't necessarily like an official app, is because it is very flexible. And the
Sure.
way you design getting things done for you may not be how I would set up the system,
Right.
if you will. There's guidelines in the system, but they are not like set in stone. And so
I hear
I
you.
was using an app called Nirvana on my phone, and that was helpful, but I've moved to ClickUp just because it has just more capabilities when you're doing like project management and managing all your other stuff in your life. I can do
Yeah.
in ClickUp personally. But it's like, I'm not
Absolutely.
like promoting ClickUp. You can do Monday.com or Asana or whatever else is out there. I just
Hey,
happen to use that one.
whatever. Absolutely. No, I don't mind. People can go get any apps they want. I appreciate it. All right. One last question. What would be one piece of advice you would give your younger self? Let's go back. I don't know, when you
Ooh.
said you started that one business of yours, whatever that one that you mentioned, what would you tell your younger self, Carla?
I I would tell my younger self that, so when I went into this, I just did this assessment, this personal assessment, and it said I'm blindly optimistic. And
Wow.
so I was the same way back then. I think I was, and I don't, this isn't negative, but I was way too trusting of people and always thought people were going to do the right thing. And
Sure.
so I would always say trust but verify, whether clients, business partners, vendors, always trust but verify. I've learned that lesson several times the hard way. And I think if I had done that, I would have had success sooner in my life because I would have been more cautious in
Got it.
some of those things because I was blindly optimistic.
I think it's also part of your success as well because you are blindly optimistic. You jump into things and you're not thinking through it. So sometimes I'm probably going to get that same result on that test.
It's helped me
And
more than it's hurt me, for sure.
yeah,
I think though when I
yeah,
was younger, I didn't have that experience to be like, and also listening to my gut more. There are situations where I came across people and they didn't give me a gut feeling, but I justified it in my head of why I should move forward or why this is a good person to work with, when really my gut was saying no. So now I listen more to my intuition than I did when I was
mhm.
younger.
That's awesome. Where can they find you, Carla?
I am all over the place. No, I'm just kidding. So the best place to find me is online. I'm on LinkedIn, Carla Lee Martinez, with a Carlalee, 2 words. My parents gave me a double first name, and I'm not from the South. But anyways, or you can go to agency528.com and find me there as well.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you
It's
so much
always
for having me.
inspiring.
This is a blessing.
All right, I'll see you soon.
Take care. Bye bye.